Good morning, everyone. Topic is internationalization of Indian B school education. First of all, I would like to welcome all the panel members. We'll introduce the topic within 5 minutes, and then each panelist 5 minutes. After that, there will be a 30-minute questions from my side, and then floor will be open for 10 to 15 minutes for the audience. Now, this is the planning of this session. So, internationalization is sharing with an academic and research practices. If we go back to the ancient era, Takshashila and Nalanda, in those timing also, the international students were coming to India, many students. And the present position in 2016, 3,71,506 students abroad. And suddenly, this ratio is increased to 6,46,206, which is in November 2022. Particularly, these students from India are going to Canada, USA, Europe, Australia, and Germany. And there also, out of the 500 ranking school, out of that, in 206 schools, these students are going for taking education for science, technology, engineering, management, and mathematics. But majority of them, they are going for the management domain for doing MS and all. Now, this is the scenario about going student out of India. And presently, around 70,000 students who are coming to India for taking foreign education. Out of 70,000, also very few students are there in the B school, very few. Even here also, which in yesterday we inquire, no foreign students taking education in this institution. Now, this is the scenario. Now, as far as the education is concerned, B school is concerned, in India, 70% education sector is managed by private player because it is connected with the internationalization. That's why I want to focus this particular figure. As far as B schools are concerned, business schools are concerned, there are three types of school. A premier school like IIM. There are few universities who are also giving a top level business school education, a 2-tier and 3-tier. Now, talking about the internationalization of B school, now there are state universities where they are running, mostly all the state universities except few, they are running 2-tier and 2nd-tier B schools. They are having a lot of problem, lot of issues. Grants from the government is also less. Infrastructural issues, digital infrastructural issues. There are a lot of challenges. Now, while bringing the internationalization, as we are working in intensive innovation digital economy, and as far as the internationalization is concerned, we are just looking to the West. But my submission here is, West, it will take more time to bring the student to country, our country. We have to look after African country, Asian countries. And if we focus at this level, then we can become a international global leader in education. And it is possible because we are having a premium school like IIM, IIT, and few universities. But there is a issue like there is a gap between rural and urban. And considering all these issues, a lot of collaboration is required. Private partnership is required with the foreign universities. Say teaching and research collaboration is required. Student faculty exchange required. Then international students, some centers require have a facilities about their visas, fast visas, flexibilities, and so many things is required. There are many issues. From the government point of view, many policies are required. From the institutions point of view, many things are required to develop this, but it is possible. It is possible. In Hindi, I can quote, समझनी है जिंदगी तो पीछे देखो, समझनी है जिंदगी तो पीछे देखो, और जीनी है जिंदगी तो आगे देखो. जीनी है जिंदगी तो आगे देखो. And it is possible that in another 2 decades, if we work hard, then India will become a global hub for the B school education and even for the education. With this, I would like to introduce my panel members. The first one, Professor Rajneesh Jain. He is a dean at IMS DAVV Indore, and he has worked very prestigious position in India as a former secretary of University Grant Commission, India. He has a knowledge about various policies about internationalization. The second panelist, Dr. Mohammad Mushraf Hussain, he is from Bangladesh. He is award-winning international renowned HR professionals and lifetime achievement awards in 2017 from World HRD Congress. Global HR Leader Award 2017 from Malaysia Institute of HRM. He did master degree from University of Calgary, Canada, PhD in management in my university, Ajinkya D.Y. Patil University in Pune. He is founder and president of the Federation of Bangladesh Human Resource Organization. Recently, he is also elected as ISDSI Global Bangladesh Chapter President. He served as the president of Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resource Management and board directors, the World Federation of People Management Association in between 2014 to 2019. He is HR head of HR with an institutional health and population research organization and editorial advisory board member of South Asian Journal of HRM. Dr. Musharraf Hussain, the third panelist who has joined online, Abdul Devle Muhammad. He is from UK, London, founder and group executive president, Africa Asia Scholars Global Network, and executive chairman, Global South Economic Forum, and also a president of Global South Universities Association and Global South Center for Research Innovation, Space and Technology for Sustainable Development, and Africa Asia Business China Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, and a member of AUAP Advisory Council. Welcome, Dr. Mohammad Devle, sir. The fourth panel member, Professor Devraj Adhikari. He is the chairman of University Grant Commission, Nepal. The fifth one, Professor Shankar Bhandari. He is a member secretary of UGC of Nepal. And the sixth panelist member, Dr. Edmund Maher. He is a director of school support and evaluation at CIS Australia. Just I'll read out his profile just now I received. Edmund Maher is currently Director of System Performance for Sydney Catholic School, Australia. In this role, he is responsible for boosting the system's performance through key performance metrics and through line management of 75 institutions. Previously, Edmund was also Vice Chancellor of our university, Ajinkya D.Y. Patil University in Pune. His doctoral research was in education policy and system at an agency and interagency level. This is about the panelist member. Now, I will request at the first Dr. Mohammed Mushraf, please speak for 5 minutes. Just give the idea, and then I will continue later on. Mohammed Mushraf.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Katkar sir, who is also my PhD supervisor. Thank you for inviting me here. And this is a very rich panel. So far, I understood it's a combination of industry and academia here. Uh, the Indian business school is already, to some extent, internationalized. Uh, Example is I am one of the graduate of a PhD graduate from the Ajanke DY Patil University is one example of your internationalization and your students are from different countries. Uh, Here is a brief presentation. I have given only 5 minutes, so I'll try to do justice. So let's see the overview of my presentation. The education system, the Indian ecosystem has changed. The business school is not only teaching the undergrad and master students, they're doing a lot of short course, post-graduation diploma and others. Uh, there are a lot of success stories for alumni from Indian business school across the world. I met many of them in USA and Canada while I was studying in Canada. A lot of innovation and creativity, many innovation, cutting edge innovation from by some of the uh, graduates of the Indian Business School. Strong academic foundation. Probably in last month, I have seen in Asia, the largest number of the universities and business school in India. So it's a large foundation. Lot of entrepreneurial spirit. We have just seen a session with all entrepreneurship as the startup people. So the concept of studying in the school has to get the job, but now it has been changed. A lot of university graduates are not only going for the job, they are trying to do some business and set up some entrepreneurship. And continuous improvement is going on in the whole industry, in the education industry. Government has taken a lot of initiative. And the greatest example is the 21 IIM in different state of India. And a lot of emerging leader from these schools. It's not working. Can anyone help me? It's not working. So let's see the global recognition is very vastly important. This is the global village is going on. The graduate should be able to employ anywhere in the world. So that global recognition is necessary. Cultural diversity is very much necessary for Indian business school to be um, globally acceptable, because when people are coming from the different countries, we have to respect for their culture. And sometimes I also face problem that when I was studying in Ajanka DY Patil University, I was the only one foreign students. And what happened in many of the group work and other things, so all discussion in Hindi, whereas I don't understand fully. So there was issues here. So maybe this is an area where we have to think, because if you, and yesterday I heard that there is no foreign student even in IIM in Ranchi. So these are the area we have to probably touch upon. International collaboration with the industries is necessary because we are preparing our graduates for the industry. So if we don't know what industry is looking for, and if we do not develop our curriculum and and module based on industry requirement, then our graduate will be facing problem once they will be going to the industry. Increase overseas employment. So far, I know the single largest graduates from India is employed by American multinational companies. And emerging global business leaders from India and Bangladesh, out of many multinational companies, at least 5 or 6 companies headed by the Indian CEOs. But there are competition. There are global competition, and Indian businesses will need to survive in the competition. And that competitive course curriculum and module needs to be developed. Economic interdependence is there. Cultural diversity I have discussed. Technological advancement, India is much ahead already. I already covered about the international students. So this is the area where Indian business school needs to focus. And there was a discussion yesterday that there may be some kind of scholarships introduced by the government and the business school so that the students can come from different countries. Collaboration with the foreign institution, this opportunity is there. In many Asian countries and African countries is the possibility because then the African students are coming in India for studying. So if we have the opportunity to study them that from their own countries is also possibility. International accreditation is necessary. If you want to be internationalized, then international accreditation is very much necessary. And the international exposure require ex, ex, enhance the learning opportunities, global perspectives. A lot of cases are available globally. Those cases can be given to the class. That is the possibility. And networking opportunities. Nowadays with the IT, you don't need to go to different country for networking. You can have networking from LinkedIn and many other social medias. But there are some challenges, cultural barrier I have mentioned. This is the area need to be taken care of. Administrative complexity. The faculty is good, but administrative support is also necessary. Quality needs to be ensured in all situations. But there are some challenges, cultural challenges I have mentioned, administrative complexity and quality assurance. Going back. Some strategies can be taken into consideration, faculty exchange program, credit transfer program, global research partnership with the different industry, and dual degree collaboration. You can introduce your program in Bangladesh or any other countries, and both the institution can give the joint degree program. This is possibility. It's not working. This is my last slide, industry academia collaboration. This is possible if industry and academia come together, but you need a third party. In Bangladesh, what we have done, we have made the partnership with the UGC, and UGC and our HR Federation, we signed the agreement, and all the private universities and public universities under the UGC administrative control. So if they are willing, then it is very easy. In Bangladesh, we have also found that the public university, they have the negative attitude. So they think that it is not necessary, but in the private university, the process has been started. The process has been started in the way that some of the industry experts they teach the courses, and they help the intern to be placed and the job placement also. Future outlook should be continuous growth and expansion, adaptation to the global trend, and strategic alliances and incorporation of the emerging technologies. So thank you very much. I'm sorry the slides was not working very well. My talk was basically that if you really want to have internationalization of your Indian business school, you need to have a broader outlook in order to open your campus in different countries, different collaboration, bring faculty from other countries, and bring faculty from the industry. And this way you can make your graduate the global standard and they will be employable in anywhere in the world. Thank you very much.
I request the coordinator, please give two mic on the stage. Okay. Student, please. Dr. Mohammed Musraf Hussain has rightly pointed out about the innovation. Lot of innovation is required for a global recognition, and there is a necessity, particularly for this internationalization. And second point, he has also rightly pointed out, particularly for the B school, that is industry collaboration. Industry collaboration not at national level, but at the international level. When the industry will come together and academia will come together, and then internationalization automatically happen. The student will get job at the international level. Therefore, he has pointed out very systematically this particular point for becoming a global leader. Another point, he's talk about the technology, particularly India. India is already developed. Technology, a lot of development has taken place, but still, in a rural area, uh, further development is required if we want to bring internationalization within a few years. This is also one of the issues which we have. Of course, another point which he has raised about the scholarship. Yes, there are very few people who can afford the international education, and therefore they goes to European countries or other countries. Now, when we are talking about the internationalization, the foreign universities are coming in India, already started. Ahmedabad is one of the example. But here there is a necessity that we have to give some scholarship, reduce the rate of tuition fees. This is one of the concern for increasing the internationalization. Of course, international accreditation also he talked about. It is very, very important for the international accreditation. There are very few institutions who got the international accreditation, very few. And therefore, we have to, work on this particular area. And then about the faculty quality. Yes, there is a necessity to have international faculty to train our faculty in certain areas. And this will play a very, very important role as far as training is concerned, what he talked about. Thank you, sir. You have given the uh, midst of this topic. Now, I would like to hand over the mic to next panelist from Australia, Dr. Edmund Maher. Dr. Edmund Maher,
Thank
please.
you,
Can you speak
Professor.
for 5 minutes?
Yes. Thank you, Professor. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored and grateful. And I worked in India a few years ago and worked for an Indian group for over a decade. So I'm very pleased to be reconnecting. Um, I think the perspective which I hope I can offer and be of some use to the conference is the perspective perhaps of someone looking in from the outside. And so most people in the room would have a far greater knowledge of the Indian policy frameworks and the regulatory frameworks and so on that I would have, but I hope that at least a perspective of an outsider looking in might spark um, uh, the idea, plant the seeds at least for some opportunities, and perhaps later in the session I could get to a much more practical level. But I've been pondering as we are preparing for this session today, I've been pondering India's place in the world, and as an outsider, and I've been pondering what India's place will be in the world in the coming decades, and pondering India's strengths, and how the strengths of the complexity that is India could really enhance our global educational offering, and it could really enhance our global education systems. So India as a major player in shaping global education into the future. Just looking through some basic statistics, things that we would all know, um, India is now the most populous country in the world, according to UN estimates. So, estimated population of 1.42 billion in 2023, half the population under 30, three-quarters of the population under 45, enormous talent pool, enormous demand. According to World Bank stats that I was looking at earlier this week, 8 in the last 10 years, India has had above 6% GDP, and all of this with quite light governance structures. So there's no single or no unitary set of solutions as to how this actually happened. And so understanding this tremendous achievement in what is, in one sense, a very young country, I think is a great opportunity. And, I'm thinking at it from an outside perspective. There must be a whole lot of people in the world, young people, who would want to understand this better and would want to know how they could apply this in their own country, how they could apply this in the business that they are working for, or their own business. And so the avenue of Indian business schools is such an obvious choice. And I just think it's a brilliant session, and that's why I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it, because it's just such a great avenue for making this happen and engaging broadly. So from the outsider perspective, I think it's helping create opportunities for students globally to understand how India has achieved this and is achieving this. Um, how how India is in a very unique position to influence education and to create win-wins. And I suppose, how do we help people get on this train? Now, I know there's a lot for India to gain as well by outside institutions and so on, but I might just mention some of the experience I have. My experience is largely Australia, the US, UK, Europe, and there are many people and groups who are very open to understanding what's happening and engaging, but there's also a glaze over effect. So there are sometimes when I'm mentioning some of the wonderful experience I've had and things I've observed and opportunities and the ways in which we can learn from India. But some people aren't as open to that. Many are. So perhaps when we're looking at our opportunities of how we engage, we're really looking at going to those who want to learn and who are interested in learning and interested in engaging. And so the perspective I'm thinking of, and I know we need a lot of work in any country in the internationalization of education, but it's how we engage students from outside of India and how we engage institutes from outside of India, and how we research and learn together. And so there are, I think, a whole lot of practical things that I've got listed and thought of in the weeks leading up to this session. Probably now is not the time to do it. I think we have to get through a number of speakers. But there is a lot of obvious low-hanging fruit, Professor Kedker, and if I have a chance a little bit later in the session, I might allude to some of those practical ideas that are low-hanging fruit, perhaps scaling up what we're already doing, and perhaps some approaches that need some further work and have a great opportunity for us. So if that's enough just to start with, Professor Kedkar, just a little taster to start with. I'll stop at that for the moment.
Thank you, Edmund sir. Uh, Professor Edmund Maher, he has given the strength of India how it will be presented in the global, and also a little bit about weaknesses where we are lacking. Uh, Now, going ahead, the next speaker, uh, panelist member, Abdul Mohammed Devle from London. Yes, sir, I would like to request 5 to 6 minutes, please present the views about internationalization of Indian B schools. Please unmute yourself. It's not audible.
Thank you, Professor Ketka. And also it's a pleasure to be part of the panel for the 16th conference of the ISDSI. I say compliments of the festive season to the president of the ISDSI and the board of the renowned organization. Well, I'm glad that MD Musharraf Hussain had actually confirmed that already there's institutionalization of education in India. I'm not new to India. I have our secretariat of our organization is at the Le Meridien Hotel in Delhi. I have traveled 39 hours by train in India from Bhopal to Hyderabad. That's the Ramoji Film City. And I've seen the level of poverty in India. Why I say this is the fact that I'll take from a different dimension to address this internationalization. I'll go back to 1955, which was the Asia Africa Conference. It was meant not only for political independence of developing countries, but also economic independence. But how far have we gone? There's still a lot of concerns. There are many international organizations, but we do not have much about those who are collaborating on the developing countries angle. And that is one of the reasons why our organization came up with an idea in 2015 to try and bring all universities, education institutions together, because there is a vacuum there. And so fortunately, we have the National University of Asia Pacific. We have the University of National of Arab Universities. It's over 500 universities. We have the National of African Universities. We have the National of Indian Principles, all on the umbrella of what we call the Global South University Association. Now, what we felt why this is important is to ensure that at least we can be able to develop a format of education that could help the progress of developing countries, because we know all aware about what we call the global north-south divide. And our interest to see how could we reduce this divide. Secondly, United Nations, which we are a member of the Global Compact, UN Global Compact, says there's no sustainable structures. We also were able to find out why we do not have sustainable structures. It's because part of why we have endemic poverty in most of our nations in developing countries. Thirdly, in 2018, at the World Economic Forum, the 46th conference of the World Economic Forum, we're all told very clearly that our world is fractured. And we all agree with the fact that our world is fractured. So what we do as an organization is to do a lot of research, and we find a three-point solution to how we can rebuild the bricks of a fractured world. And at that time, the 46th conference, for the first time in history, it was co-chaired by women. And so what we did was to call for a meeting in New York with the UN women. And we start with the UN women, and we're able to at least present this proposal, which is what we're still working on. Now, in terms of actually institutionalization, what is missing point is the fact that even when you talk about even the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, you could see that totally education itself has changed completely. And so we have to grab a lot. Even here in London, in my own country and the UK, You know, we all talk about London being the financial capital of the world. But yet, why is it every 4 years, 6 years, we talk about going to recession? So we are very much concerned that we've failed to manage ourselves. And I'm glad that Dr. Professor Mashrouf Hussein, who has led the Asia Association of, I think, Human Resources Association in Asia, which is very fundamental when we talk about human resources. When we talk about management, we talk of banking, business, we realize that we are probably, there are a lot of shortfalls because the essence that because most of our policies are not diverse. And I'll also take you back to 2013 in Bali, when United Nations was planning on what scorecard or what are they going to present to all of us across the world after the MDGs, which is the Millennium Development Goals. No, we have the 2000 Millennium, and then 2013 in Bali, it was then a high-level panel led by who is now Minister of Foreign Affairs here, Lord David Cameron, as well as the President of Indonesia and Liberian President. And they were very frank. They came up with 3-point solution. Let me talk about 2 particularly. And it says renewed global partnership. And it says people-centered policies. And we were expecting United Nations will come over in 2015 and use renewed partnership as the foundation for SDGs, and then added to diverse inclusive policies, which is about public-private partnership. And we realized that we came up with 17 goals as against using the aspect of partnership, just like you talk about internationalization, partnership to build partnership because the world lacks nothing. The problem is about trust. We've got everything we need in this world to build a better, prosperous world, but the trust is not there. So when we say when we are educating our young people, we ask a lot of questions. If you have education, you lack wisdom. If you have a little education, you lack knowledge. What are we training our young people? So if we look at it, we have empowering few people as against empowering larger number of people. So how can 5 people look after 5,000 people? We disempower a lot of our young people. Let's give an example. We've mentioned here this last 5 minutes about the corporate sector working with industries, working with entrepreneurship universities, Most of our universities have not been seen being very creative. Ask any of universities, give a proposal. The first thing you'll be asked is, where's the money to do it? We are so tired or lazy to look at proposal because proposal is the capital. So there is a lot because we say a lot about conference. I remember when I went to the conference in 2016 in Siena, in Italy. It was International Universities. And I couldn't mince my words by telling everyone at that conference that we're all like academic tourists. Because it's like a whole wine in a new bottle. We say the same thing all the time. Whereas there are issues there that we need to start to look at the fact that we need to lay a solid foundation, and which has to be based first on trust. Now, look at our form of education. Let's just mention about the fact that if you have to have children, a form of education is you have to do exams. When you have to put children together, we all say treat every child differently. And we also say no 2 brains are the same. And I wonder why we have to then segregate some young people because they can't memorize and pass exam. Then they are our cooks, our stewards, our gardeners. Yet they're very intelligent. And very few people fell out of school. We've seen sample of them who have become billionaires, but yet they came out of school. So the fact there is that what we need to review, I would say as a great thing that the 2020, I think the format of education by the government of India was very good, was well received. But there's a lot that we have to do. And that's why I'm very happy that even Association of Indian Principals is part of the team of the organization that we come together, that we need to reform our education completely. And when we talk about research centers, we spend billions doing research, billions of money we spend research. Yeah, the World Economic Forum says our world is fractured. So that is why we create what is called the Global South Research Center for Peace, Innovation, and Technology for Sustainable Development. And the question we ask in our research centers, even what do you call it, Rockefeller Foundation, and quite a lot number of them all over the world, that spent billions. And we ask the question, where did we get it wrong? We need to go back down and really find why have we failed our children? Why have we failed them? Because the fact we need to start to build trust among ourselves. When you have children to start to think of competing against each other to do an exam. Let's take example, you go to the laboratory. You go to the labs, you work in groups. And when you work in groups, you start to build trust among yourselves. But when you have to then segregate children to start to take exams, meanwhile, some cannot memorize, so they're failures. It's not that they're not intelligent. Then some that cannot go and face their parents that are failure or want to be seen inferior in classrooms, they start to cheat in classroom. And guess what happens? Those are the ones that grow up to go into fraudulence, and then when they get into position of authority, they become the corruption. That's why institutional corruption across the world. So we create the monsters that we have built in our world. And I believe that education, that the business schools, management schools, schools that deal with human resources and the rest need to be looked at. And also we need to bring them together. And that's why in our organization, because I always say one thing, don't criticize if you don't have a solution. We're used to criticizing, start looking for solutions. So what we are doing, the Prime Minister of Jordan and the Minister of Higher Education of Jordan have gladly agreed to host all the universities, the Global South University Association in Jordan. And I'm glad that even Dr. Keka also know the history of this body that we're trying to put together over the last 8 years with all our intensive research. We have used the webinar to bring almost 240 experts together. And when we bring these experts together on a webinar, we don't just say, come and tell us stories that have been said before, because like only one, but what we say is this is the plan. What value can you add into this? So what we have at the moment is that the government of Jordan has accepted to host the event. When we're planning to have it May 23rd to 25th. But unfortunately, we're looking at now is the fact that with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we're now looking at Beijing because the IAUP, International University president, when we have one of our colleagues, Dr. Sean Shen, will become the president or is the president-elect of the International University president, and we're looking forward to probably have this universities being actually launched in Beijing in October 2024. And the process, we're expecting to also bring the action of Arabic, the action of business schools. I can commend the Asia Business Schools Association doing greatly well. But we are trying to now bring it to be a global, not a global, but because we deal with the global South. And I want to commend the Prime Minister Modi for actually being the first, the first leader or government or country that will actually contribute to the UN Office of Social Cooperation, which is based in Switzerland. And so that has been very helpful because recently they marked the 6th anniversary of the UN, the India UN Office of Social Cooperation support funding. So the basis we're talking about, the developing countries have to come together. You are almost more than 2/3 of the world, but you are the most impoverished. And so there are a lot of concerns about the global south. And I'm glad, like someone has said there, when it comes to technology, I mean, we give kudos to India. And I think there's a lot that India can do with that to support other developing countries. We're working towards all that. So whatever I'm saying here now is that there are things in place. We hope that by the time we launch the Global South Association, we'll also be able to launch the Africa, Asia Association of Business Schools, as well as what I will be discussing with Dr. Musharraf was saying, after this conference. And I want to commend him for his leadership when he was handling the, what do you call it, the Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resources Management. And we're hoping that with his support, we can get Africa to join, and then we can be able to at least have these two groups. And when we have them, we have to start thinking about a new format completely. We have to lay the foundation. The foundation, there's no foundation at the moment. And the UN has to get things right. When the UN says this, every university follow. We don't even come and say, hang on, no, that's not the way we're going to go. Because mind you, this is 2024. Next 6 years, we're talking about 2030. Already the UN Secretary General said we have only achieved 15% of the UN SDGs. 15% we've only achieved, and we only have halfway now to 2030. So we're taking our children. And when we handle business school, we handle management schools, what are we managing? If you can manage us, so we can manage our environment. These are issues that I think we need to look at. And we need to come together. And I hope, and we'll be working greatly with ISDSI to say that at least we can be able to start laying that foundation. It's going to take a long time because things have gone bad. We need to start building the trust among ourselves. We need to build more partnership among ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the partnership we're talking about that doesn't work because everybody is scared about how they can be able to control what they have, not how we can share because of lack of trust. So I believe that what I hope is this conference will lead to some fundamental, what would I call it, is when it comes even when we sit down, when we sit in conferences, how many governments even are in our conferences? They're not. Whatever we are doing, we're helping government indirectly. End of the day, they have to turn up the policies. And when you have a conference, you don't have the government around you. So what are we talking about? What are we trying to achieve? We need to, 100% of people in government, they are all products of university. Why can't we work together for the sake of our future, of our children? We need to break that ice. It's not a matter of inviting a minister or director of education ministry to come and then the next 15 minutes or 31 hour, then he goes out and take the whole. We need to start addressing that. We need to work together. And I met the Minister of Education recently when I came to India, last time I came to India. And I think a very respectable man, I would say, because from the way we met. And I'm hoping they will open up more to universities, to private universities, to work together to achieve one glory. Let it be known that we are all government. I talk to some people in government and they will say, university, they say, oh, you don't want to be part of government. I ask the question, why are you paying tax if you're not part of government? For the sake of our children, we need to work together with government. We need to get to understand each other because the government does not trust the society. Society does not trust government. This is the way we work. So we need to change, and it's all about mindset, changing the mindset. If we can't change mindset, there's nothing we can achieve. We cannot achieve more because we only empower a few people, and they can't look after, what do you call it, 1.4.2 billion people. We need to empower more people. We've just said about, Dr. Ketka just said recently that in rural areas, there is no internationalization there. Why can't we, government, say, look, university, you can't set it up in a city, you have to go to rural area. But the government too has to show good example. How dare you put Minister of Agriculture in the city? So you can say, so we need to review the way we do things just to make it about children. So let me thank you for allowing me to speak. And I think we're just a start of us working together. We will come back to the ISDSI and Dr. Masharuf will be getting in touch with you and other colleagues and see how we can work together and start to lay the foundation for change. Thank you very much, your audience. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to talk.
Thank you, Devle sir. Devle sir has given very prominent point for the internationalization purposes. He has offered the partnership of Global Economic Forum and the World University Forum with the ISDSI Global for working together. Of course, the government of India also having a lot of policy for this particular things. And definitely, sir, will be there in future, and we will make a partnership for Indian based schools along with this ISDSI Global and the World Economic Forum as well as the World University Forum, attracting the students from Africa and Asian countries as well as from Europe. Thank you very much. Now the next speaker, panelist member, will speak around 5 to 6, 7 minutes. Uh, Professor Rajneesh Jain, he is a former secretary of University Grand Commission, Government of India. Of course, he has formulated a policy as far as the internationalization of Indian education is concerned. And therefore, sir, please give focus on this.
So good morning, everyone. Distinguished panel on the dais as well as on the virtual screen, and distinguished members sitting here in the audience. So I would like to place my points from the government point of view. I'd like to finish within the time frame 5 minutes. See, internationalization, as Professor Khedekar started, is not a new phenomena. It had been there since centuries. Right from the days of Nalanda and Takshila, India had been a global destination in education. It continued even post independence. And what could be the better example than that of IIM Calcutta and IIM Ahmedabad? And these two institutions were in fact set up with the support of two great international institutions, MIT and Harvard Business School. So MIT was behind IIM Calcutta in 1961, and at the same time, Harvard was there for IIM Ahmedabad. So internationalization was happening. BHU had international scholars and students. GNU had international scholars and students. And I understand that other business schools also have international collaborations in terms of institution, in terms of faculty, as well as mobility of the students. So internationalization is not a new phenomena. But what happened in the recent past? Recently, we held the presidency for G20, and the new education policy, national education policy, was launched in 2020. So it gave a big boost to internationalization, and that has happened in the field of education as well. Somewhere the pathways were not very clear and very defined, that how the internationalization should take place and how we can make it a more sustainable process. More sustained efforts could be made in the right direction. Government of India had been making certain efforts. Some of the efforts were in the form of SPARC, SPARC, Scheme for Promotion of Academic Research Collaboration. The schemes were there for Global Initiative for Academic Network called GYAN. Then Study in India program was already in place, and a large number of collaboration with different countries in terms of research or in terms of fellowship, and everything was happening. Now, what has happened when I was secretary at the University Grants Commission, we looked at the scenario and we found that there should be a very well-defined pathway with all the technical details and the legal processes in place so that the things can be stable. The three important initiatives were taken at that time. First of all, we tried to formalize all the initiatives and brought out the guideline for internationalization in the year 1921. So it very clearly laid out how internationalization in educational institutions should take place, and particularly in terms of setting up of international student office, creating right kind of international ecosystem for attracting international students. I'll not go into the statistics part. And second thing was related with international collaboration with higher education. So we try to work out a regulation which created pathways in very clear terms how students can go for exchange programs in terms of twinning, how students and institutions can collaborate and can offer a dual degree with one Indian institution and the second higher education institution abroad, where the students can take up programs in physical mode in conventional method. And also we created pathways for joint degree program where one degree would be awarded by an Indian institution and the other degree simultaneously would be awarded by a foreign institution. This is not the end. So we had to go a step forward where institutional mobility can also happen. And for that purpose, recently a regulation has been brought out to bring foreign institutions in India. So this regulation creates a pathway for top 500 global universities and institutions to set up their campuses in India. And many inquiries have already been started by American universities, European universities, Australian universities. They are interested because the kind of support system which government of India is providing right now is very attractive for all the countries, and all the countries they want to have good relations with India as well. So these are the two or three rather clear pathways which we could create in order to boost internationalization here in India. So, study in India program on the guidelines and the regulations in terms of twinning, joint, and dual programs, and particularly recently that setting up of foreign campuses in India, which is also promoting internationalization at home. Of course, the institutions are free to set up, Indian institutions are free to set up their campuses abroad. So I would stop here, and I'm here for any kind of questions. So I finished my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Professor Rajneet Jain has also given a little bit gist about the very importantly, in last 1 year we have seen G20 and the various countries in this G20 group, they have participated in our country and we were the host. And this remain as a part of the internationalization, particularly in many universities, they have hold this particular program. In Pune also, in my university, uh, we have also G20 program which we have hold. Even in Pune University also, the same program it was taken place. And yes, internationalization in education has started, uh, of course. Then the NEP 2020 has given internationalization, especially how to go about it. By 2035, this NEP 2020, which we have to achieve, not only internationalization, but we have to increase the GR ratio up to 50%, presently, which is 27.3%. Because of the online and blended education now, some 20% ratio is already increased. And there is challenges because we are having 1100 plus universities and we require to reach to 50% ratios around say more, again more 900 universities at least. But this is one good thing, sir. The private universities, started everywhere in the state, and therefore the quality of education is started increasing. Quality faculty is also recruited in these private universities, and therefore definitely certain change will be expected. Now you have also talked about the research collaboration, which is very important part. A joint degree program or dual degree or equal degree with the foreign university and all, particularly the Indian education ecosystem, it should be mapped with the internationalization by doing all these things. And for the sustainable development of education in our country, and therefore the institutions which are at home now, because Indian government is attracting not only The students should go out of their campuses, but inside in the campuses, say from foreign university will come, some joint degree will come, say collaboration will be there, and the Indian student will get a chance in our country. They will complete their dream to take education in foreign university or with foreign degree with a low cost, because costing is one of the very important part, because many students they are not in positions to afford. Now thank you, sir. You have given a little bit gist about this. As Professor Devraj Adhikari and Professor Bandari, UGC chairman of Nepal and secretary, they are not able to join because of the internet issues. Some message came from the student, and even I got in my WhatsApp. Therefore, we will continue with the question. I would like to raise the question. Is Edmund Meyer is there? Edmund, sir?
Yes.
Yes. I will ask you first question. Uh, what steps should India follow to become a global leader in international education? I will repeat the question. What steps should India follow to become a global leader in international education?
Okay, thank you. I think we've spoken at different levels. Some of us have spoken at a very global level, and very helpful and provocative, actually, from Dr. Muhammad. Um, and I think it's Indian policy level as well. Um, I just want to start with a preliminary comment that it struck me some years ago that the distribution of wealth in India was roughly equivalent of the distribution of wealth globally, roughly reflective of that. So proportions of people high, middle, lower income, and so on. And I just want to reiterate something that I just touched on earlier, that India really has something to offer because of the level of growth and the country's positioning in its latest form, in its newest form. It's really a miracle. And so when we're looking to lift people and countries out of absolute poverty, um, I just want to mention that, kind of the miracle that is India, and so much um, can be can be learned. And this is why, many of the speakers have touched on these things. Certainly at a policy level, but even at a micro level, there's a lot to be done. So we've spoken about individual institutes. It could be right down to something as small as micro credentialing. So, the enormity of the population, the number of institutes, the quality of institutes, the experience, the industry partnerships, all of this is a kind of rich soil for, at a minimum, at a minimum, global reach of micro credentialing for high school students through to people who are currently older and in working in business and so on. And then we're getting that up to other examples that speakers have given, such as bachelor's programs, which could be run dual institute, MBAs, other postgraduate study, doctoral programs. And these things have been run for years. So we've been running multi-institute MBAs for years and so on. But there's a tremendous opportunity to continue to scale that up. So, at a very practical institute level, and in a decentralized way, many of the examples that the speakers have given, I think, are part of the key for India's global reach. Yes, it benefits India, but in fact, it's India as a contributor to lifting, as India has lifted it, to lifting. And so at a very practical level, micro credentialing, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, PhD research, and specifically in the area of business and economics, would be, I think, a tremendous asset globally, and I think would benefit the profile of India. The second, I just want to mention as well that there's some really good research by Souto Otero and Brown about a kind of plug and play approach with industry at the moment. I think it's 2015. You'll easily be able to find it. And we've got to be very careful not to hollow out education. I agree actually with Dr. Mohammed. We really have to look at values, and we really have to bring people together in trust. It's actually true. We can't hollow out education. At the same time, employability is a key concern. One of the things that's very noticeable in business schools, in the India context, at least in my experience, is that there's a very strong emphasis on employability globally. And this is something which is a very strong contributor, and I think is something that could be scaled up. It's the low hanging fruit, it's already there, but it's very important to scale up. I'll make one final point. Ranking systems. It's the metrics are going to favor the people who set up the metrics, right? So we know that if somebody sets up a ranking system, it's going to favor the institutions or the organizations or groups that those who set the system up are attached to and associated with. So I was pretty impressed with the accreditation system for, I think it's UGC, would that be right? The accreditation system for universities, very quantitative, really clear. And I just thought it was a great system. And I think if we're looking at um, metrics such as applied studies, the extent to which studies are linked to, real community and industry needs, industry experience, employability, graduates' income in relation to the mean income of that country, and so on. There are a whole lot of really important metrics, I think, that could be part and probably are a part and could be further emphasized in an accreditation and ranking system. And it's probably a really good opportunity that yes, in one sense, we are joining the and international accreditation and international rankings, but in another sense, actually our system has a lot to offer. So I think there's an opportunity in scaling up the accreditation and ranking systems that could be really Asia based and could be one of the major systems globally. I think there are around 6 major systems globally. So again, it's just relating back to my earlier points. I think if we consider what India has to offer as an outsider, a primary concern would be trying to understand um, how all of these tremendous achievements have occurred. And of course, no country's perfect, and nothing's perfect, and there's more work to be done in every single country. But I just feel like coming from an outsider's perspective, there's just a curiosity on how this tremendous achievement has occurred. So I think the obvious low-hanging fruit, which many speakers have talked about, but I think also in terms of university accreditation, let's sort of get on our own track and let's put our accreditation and ranking system forward to make sure that it reflects all the things that we do really well in India. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, due to the time constraint, I will not discuss in detail, but your suggestion is well taken, considering the population of our countries, number of institutions, as far as the research is concerned. Yes, definitely, India will work on this area as far as going ahead with the internationalization. Now, the next question to Abdul Devle sir. Uh, as you already many times visited India, and in many places, you are aware about the Indian situation, Indian environment, Indian education system. Therefore, question to you, what are the challenges faced in integrating global standard in the Indian economic education system? What types of challenges India will face as well as internationalization is concerned? Considering that you have visited the rural area also, you have visited the urban area also, and you are aware about certain state.
Thank you for that question. First is that what we have at the moment is not working. So what we have done, like I said earlier, was 8 years. We've got this endorsement from associations of universities to bring together. But we felt we need to do a lot of research because it's not a matter of just doing the same thing all over. So it's taken us intensive research. Like I said, that for 6 months, every week, we're bringing almost 240 experts together, including yourself on the webinar, to try and see how we can start having experts who will be the think tank for the research center we're hoping to establish. We're trying to plant a new seed completely because what we have at the moment, like I said, is not working because it is a fact our world is fractured. Let me even give one little one that just one war between Ukraine and Russia. Why is it even up to India saying that they're short of wheat? Food become a problem in most countries, in developing countries. Just one war between Ukraine and Russia. What is wrong that we are not doing so much in the area of agriculture? You've got all the fertile land everywhere there. So the issue there is what is wrong with our system. We talk about global. That's why I said the Asia Africa Conference in 1955 was for us to come together and build, because we have a different way from the Western world, just like you have a different way. But you find that the people in developing countries like Africa, in for instance, in India, they call the okra is not is boiled. No, it's fried. But in Africa, they boil it. So there are a lot of issue of culture even that related. But what happened to Africa was that after the 1955 conference, Africa, rather than come closer to Asia, went to be Canada, America, Britain. And in the process, they lost most of their culture. But Asians kept to their culture. And then not only that, they were able to grasp the knowledge of technology from the West. So what we should be looking at is we look at our environment, our society as people. We know most of our elders, our forefathers, or whatever, where most of it were farmers. But when there is no, what will I call it, encouragement to make people see farming as a profession itself. And that's part of why we felt that somebody must be a doctor, must be a lawyer, must be XYZ. So I think basically what I will be answering is we need to go back to the drawing board. I know some are doing fantastic work. And it's all about, because what we need to do is to start, I think Qatar Foundation, and there's a school that I was told by one of the MPs, not an MP, one of the lords here in the UK, told me about a school also in India. When I mentioned the aspects that why do we have to start our children to do exams together? Because you're setting them against each other. That's a level of failure. Setting them together is not a good format for us to teach our children, because you are asking them to compete. Whereas we say no two brains are the same. Children treat them differently. So if we don't go back to the fundamental of how we raise our children to the level of where we talk about education and the rest of it, then it's like just trying to rebuild the bricks of, I mean, what would I call it, to plaster a broken wall. We need to lay a foundation. That's what we should be, some of us should be looking at.
Make it short, sir. Because of the time, we have short of time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot has been said, and I'm sure some people have said what I'm saying. So, but what is there is, like I've said, we would, after this conference, we'll be able to see how far we can go in ensuring that we can put it in place. That's what I can say, because you can't actually achieve much by just this couple of minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, my next question to Dr. Musharraf, sir. As you are part of India only, the question to you: what factors are driving the internationalization of Indian education in Indian B schools? Even short.
Okay, thank you very much. I have covered some of the points during my presentation, but one other issue I would like to touch upon. This morning, out of curiosity, I just asked ChatGPT to give me the list of 10 universities who are doing excellent in terms of short course and executive education. With my surprise, I found that 7 universities from USA, including Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and 3 universities from UK. They are top. apart from their degree program, they are regularly offering certificate course, executive program, senior management course, different courses. And another surprise I found that the number of alumnus through the short course are 3 times than their regular graduate programs. So through this, you are covering a wide varieties of the people from the different countries. On the other hand, I also asked that from money wise, they are making more money from these short courses than the degree programs. Uh, what I see in Bangladesh and India also, that psychologically or mentally, the institution and the leadership, they think that we are here for degree program only. And this is changing, and I think this is the way you can have more coverage across the world, and it will be one step ahead than your internationalization process. The second thing is the faculty exchange program. There are many American, Canadian scholars and the faculty members. They are willing to come, even free. I studied in Calgary University. In Bangladesh, I have invited two of my professors who are retired, but they're still willing to do some voluntary work. So we just gave them the airfare and accommodation, and they came here and they taught the student for a month. And this created a big impact in those universities. So there are many other ways you can consider, but if you only centered only on degree and undergraduate program, then it will be very difficult because from undergraduation program, it takes about 3 to 4 years to produce a graduate. Whereas for the short course, you can produce an alumnus only in 1 week. So this actually matters for consideration in order to make the Indian business school for more internalization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You have suggested that the senior professor, even though they retired, we have to bring in the education system to have a very, very experiential and practical knowledge to the student for developing uh, at high level quality education. Now, I would like to ask two questions to Rajit Jain sir. It is interconnected, but as you have already worked in the government, particularly in the UGC, the question to you is, what initiative or policies has the Indian government undertaken to promote internationalization in education, particularly in B school? This is one question. And the second one, what challenges in setting up and operating campuses of foreign higher educational institution in India? Please, sir.
Thank you, Professor Khedekar. So far as the government initiative for promoting internationalization in higher education is concerned, I have recently mentioned the initiative, and the same are applicable to B schools as well. If you look at the growing number of institutions in international ranking, so the more number of Indian universities are figuring in Times Higher Education and QS. I think recently about 91 universities with those who have management departments, they have also figured in Times Higher Education, and around 148 universities figured in top uh, 850 universities in QS ranking. And similarly, B schools are also figuring. So one of the initiative is that all these B schools should keep on participating in global business rankings or global institutional ranking, which will help them in getting recognition across the globe, which will help them in attracting international students. And moreover, I would say that the government initiative in terms of dual degree and joint degree would definitely help these B schools as well. If you look at the monetary part, in any good B school, abroad, 1 year expenses are more than $70,000. So if you make a 2 year program, so $140,000 is the cost of one global MBA program. Whereas in training program, students can go and have an exposure and they can earn up to 30% credits from abroad. In dual degree, they can earn 2 degrees, one degree from Indian institution and other degree from international institution by having minimum 30% credits in face-to-face manner. So I think it will bring an international experience to Indian students if a dual degree or a joint degree program is pursued. At the same time, it will be much more economical to get those kind of international exposure in India. And so far as your second point is concerned regarding challenges which foreign higher education institution would face in India, um, I think right now the government ecosystem to promote international institution is very favorable. Particularly, I can give you an example from Gujarat. The Gift City in Gujarat has been specifically created to promote internationalization, and some universities from Australia they have already taken initiative to set up there. Definitely, the kind of ecosystem international support which is required, and the facilities, infrastructural facilities, the social facilities, and the bureaucratic facilities which are required to support international students in India would definitely require some more efforts. So that will be an area of challenge. Otherwise, I think right now the government system as well as the support system at state level is also very positive, and enthusiasm is there to bring internationalization at home as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have rightly pointed out that the B school, they should go for the international accreditation. But as I pointed out at the beginning, that very few schools who have taken the international accreditation, even NBA also, not taken by all of the institution, may not be 50% also. And therefore, first they have to go at least for NAC, NBA, and then first another 4 or 5 years, they have to go for international accreditation. And definitely it will give the feel of internationalization in future. Yes, time is over. I'll just give 5 minutes to the audience. Before that, I will just quote one word. कोयल अपनी भाषा बोलती है, कोयल अपनी भाषा बोलती है, इसीलिए जिंदगी भर आजाद रहती है। तोता दूसरे की भाषा बोलता है, इसीलिए जिंदगी भर पिंजरे में कैद रहता है। आई वांट टू से हियर दैट अपनी भाषा बोलना चालू करो। वेस्ट में क्या हो रहा है, अमेरिका क्या कर रहा है, उनका गैप निकालो। जस्ट फाइंड आउट द गैप ऑफ हार्वर्ड एंड आवर स्कूल, fill up that gap और अपना नया क्रिएट करो, then we'll be a global leader. Now the forum is open for the audience. 2 questions only will be entertained. No question, okay. Then while ending, I will again put up one quote. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank all the panelist members,
Hello.
particularly
My hands up.
yes, international speaker. We joined from London, Abdul
You just
Mahmood
raised my
Lohi.
hand up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And another, Dr. Edmund Maher from Australia. Thank you,
Can I
sir.
say a word? Can I say a
Thank
word,
you.
please?
Thank you. Professor. Okay. He's there. He's there. I can.
You want to say, Professor Dev?
You want to say something?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Can I go on?
1 minute only.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. I just want us to note one thing that in business is required in almost virtually every business, every industry, every endeavor, life endeavor. Business is always very important. So you need a lot of young people who will be able to manage businesses, manage resources, manage humans. And what I'm saying here is that when you talk about India, India has a great value area of medical tourism. And also you look at issue of, apart from medical tourism, you look at technology. So when we have these associations of Africa business schools joining in partnership with the Asia Association of Pacific Business Schools, as well as the Africa joining the Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resources Management. What we intend to do there is to see the potentials of each countries, just like I've mentioned about medical tourism and mentioned about technology for India. There are other countries too that are quite vast in some areas. And that's why you talk about international, what do you call it, related relationship, because each countries, we see how they can be able to help each other. And that is the areas that you can now be able to ensure that internationalization, can really take much effect. And so I can say that for sure, India will do very well when it comes to even area of agriculture. India will also do very well in those areas. So if we look at those areas, we look at other countries like Sri Lanka, Nepal, and the rest of it, and see how also India can benefit. So if we look at that, then we can be able to plan and see how best we can promote institutionalization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. I would also like to thank the panelist member, Dr. Mohammad Mushraf Hussain. He all the way came from Bangladesh and he has given his views in this panel discussion. I would like to thank Professor Rajni Jain. He also came from the Indore. He has given a very good views about the policies of the government. And at the end, I'll just end the panel discussion with one quote connected to internationalization. मंजिल मिले ना मिले मंजिल मिले ना मिले ये तो मुकद्दर की बात है हम कोशिश भी ना करें ये तो गलत बात है कोशिश करना चाहिए मे बी इन अनदर 2 decades 1 decade 3 decades we will be a global leader particularly in the education. Thank you very much. Over to you, coordinator.
Thank you to all our speakers for the insightful discussion. I invite Professor B.R. Metri to come on the stage and felicitate our guests. Starting off with Professor E.B. Khedkar. Professor Rajneesh Jain. And Mr. Mohammad Musharraf Hussain. Thank you so much, sir. All the students are requested to remain seated for the valedictorian address and award ceremony. All the dignitaries present are requested to head for the high tea. Sorry. Uh, we'll resume in 15 minutes.
Light on.
Yes, sir. Please switch on the lights. Please switch on the lights for group photo. I think there's some issue. Once again, students are requested to remain seated. We will resume shortly. Sir, I think there's some issue. Just a second, sir. All right. Oh, actually, felicitate किया ऐसा बोलो. रुको रुको. Just wait.